Where can we expect Microsoft stock to head in 2025? In this video, we will be assessing Microsoft stock by looking at the news surrounding them within their product pipeline and using their financials in my system to allow us to see where we can predict for this stock to head in the next fiscal year. So as of today, Microsoft has recalled its Copilot AI. So after much controversy and delay, it has released an AI-driven recall of its Windows Copilot Plus. This essentially means that if you're not part of Microsoft's early release program, and if you have a Copilot Plus PC, the feature will be available for you to use. What is puzzling is why Microsoft is continuing to push a feature that is a huge security and privacy risk. With passwords, confidential data, personal information, and bank information, this could all be captured and stored by the recall. Microsoft claims it has taken steps to keep this from happening, but given what is at stake, it is difficult to simply take their word for it. So looking at Microsoft on a year-to-date chart, we can see they are currently up 10.58%. They're currently down 2.09% on the month, and as of today, they've had a slight spike, getting them over $420 and taking them straight back down to $415. With a strong PE ratio of 34.4 and an earnings per share of 12.09. Both of these are very promising figures and show good room for growth within 2025. So now inputting some data into my system, this will give us a relatively good tell on the trends within their financials and where they should be heading within the next year. So taking a look at the previous quarters for Microsoft, we can see the following. We can conduct a liquidity ratio, a retention rate, and compare their free cash flow. Starting off on the liquidity ratio, here we can compare their current cash to their total current debt. You want this to be above a ratio of 1, as it means they have $1 to pay back their debt in liquid cash, as in the world of business, cash is king. So we don't have debt data for the similar quarter 3 of 2023. However, we do have the last 4 quarters to show. And going off of this is very positive, with a general ratio of around 2, and their previous liquidity rate was 3.2, which is really strong. Looking at the trend line, we can expect this to continue to increase. However, this is just a trend line, and there is chances that this will fall down slightly, especially with Microsoft investing so much into developing their Copilot AI. So it will be interesting to see if it does follow the trend. I do think it may be plateauing after this quarter, but only time will tell on that. Now taking a quick look at the retention rate for Microsoft. This will show us the trend in how much money they managed to retain within the company, with the trend on the right comparing it to the previous quarter. So Microsoft's retention rate is really, really good. You want to see this above 10%, and they're pushing 40 at the moment, which is really good. We are seeing a bit of a pattern where one quarter is up, the next is down, then up again, then down, but that's kind of to be expected with a company as at a stage of Microsoft. With the retention rate pushing 40, this is extremely positive, and the trend line is predicting this to continue to grow. However, it is expecting total revenue to slightly slow down and net income to slightly increase. Meeting somewhere in the middle here could potentially see a lower figure for next quarter, which is to be expected. Now taking a look at the free cash flow, this is where we can compare the operating cash flow to the free cash flow. This money can be used for paying out debt, paying out dividends, or stock buybacks. It could be seen as the free money in which they have at the end of their expenses. And their free cash flow is really high, really high. It isn't increasing massively at the moment, but they are spending a lot on their Copilot development, so it is to be expected. However, the trend line does expect a overall decrease within the free cash flow, but it is expecting the two operating and free cash flow to increase in time with each other. But overall, the operating cash flow and free cash flow aren't aligning well enough for free cash flow to come out on top. So now we can compare volume to price on a polynomial chart. These charts are not logarithmic, so they are increasing with steady amounts. Looking at the 365 comparison, we can see the trend line is expecting volume to slightly start to decline and the price to increase. By the end of 25, I do see the price being between $450 and $500 personally, especially when Copilot is properly rolled out. I mean, it has been already, but it's just going to continue to improve as AI stocks currently are and have been for the last 2 to 3 years. Furthermore, we can see on a 91-day basis, we're expecting volume to rise and the price to pretty much be stable, if not slightly fall. However, this is not a massively accurate metric to go off of, as it is just comparing the two on a polynomial chart. It is just matching the trends up. Now comparing the figures of Microsoft, we can see a beta of 0.09. So that means when it is compared with, I believe it's the Nasdaq in the case of Microsoft, it is less volatile, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can show the lack of short-term growth. However, if you are in it for the long run and want a stable stock, that is not necessarily a bad thing, but you might see better returns from investing in the Nasdaq itself rather than the individual stock. With the difference of the 52-week high and low being at $105, that is quite significant. But it does show we can easily break the $450 mark quite easily. So within 2025, I believe we will break that mark before April. And finally, we can compare average volume to current volume. So we are massively down at the moment on volatility within Microsoft. This isn't necessarily volatility because it could go either way. If you get more buys and more sells, it's less volatile, but there's still a large volume of shares being traded. But we can see that at the moment it is very, very low compared to the average. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does show there isn't potential massively short term for a lot of growth. But under a Trump presidency, this stock might get affected in a positive way, just due to the fact that it is an American through and through stock. So that concludes my system so far. Let me know what you guys think about this system. It's not the most accurate and it isn't finished yet. I still have things to add. If there's anything you want me to add to this, then please let me know. I'll definitely add things in as it goes. Now looking at a projection on MSN, we can see that Microsoft is relatively stable. It could go either way. I don't see it hitting $495 within the next 90 days. I think that's ridiculous, but I personally see it going a bit more like that. I mean, that's still an exaggeration, but I just see it being very stable. That's my personal opinion, but it makes sense. Looking at Microsoft on TradingView, we can use this to see the Sharpe and Sortino ratio along with the Omega ratio. So the Omega is at 0.7 and the Sharpe and Sortino is at minus 5.57%. So that basically predicts no short-term growth for Microsoft when comparing it to the risk involved. So personally, I wouldn't recommend Microsoft short-term, comparing the upside and downside risk to the potential growth within the stock, as there just doesn't seem to be much, and this won't obviously account for any news coming out such as a huge AI recall. And finally, when using Google Trends to see how often Copilot is searched for, we can see this data here. This allows us to see the increase within the past 5 years. Of course, Copilot hasn't been a thing for 5 years, but it is interesting to see how much the search term has been used on Google, which isn't a platform which offers Copilot as default. But it is taking a huge increase, so there clearly is still a growing demand for the AI software. And this is showing the interest over time of the past 5 years for the search term Microsoft. This is pretty much stable, which is what you would expect. This has the search regions of China, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia and Switzerland, those being the top 5 regions of interest. So that concludes my basic analysis of Microsoft. I do see long-term growth within this stock, of course. I don't see a lot of short-term benefit, however, so if you were looking to get in and out within the next month to 3 months, I don't see the point. If you're looking to hold this for over 6 months and beyond, I do see benefit as it is stable. However, would your money be better in a ETF such as the S&P or NASDAQ? Quite potentially likely, as you're mitigating risk better and growth is potentially going to be steady for Microsoft, but I do see the potential for it to reach $450 and top end $500 by the end of 25. So with that being said, I'm not a financial advisor, this is just my own opinions. I am very new to finance, I am stupid, so please leave a like, subscribe if you want to see some more analysis. Please do your own research before you do buy into a stock, as it is always necessary to, and I'll see you for the next video.